Hey guys, welcome to the session recap for London for Euro Dollar on Thursday the 8th of December 2022. So daily chart, we're bullish, right? After the break of structure, we are expecting that potentially we may get a deeper swing pullback at some point. We have come into a pretty high probability daily supply zone that led to a break of structure and that flips this level of demand. So pretty decent level in which we could potentially expect price to pull back. However, we are aware that there is a fresh weekly supply zone up here with daily supply nested within that potentially price may want to gravitate towards first before seeing a deeper pullback. So we initially had quite a strong reaction from that supply zone, big, nice bearish candle, and then we had another bearish day. But then yesterday, as we can see, that we tapped into this previous demand range here, right? Prices tapped in and we had a bit of a bullish reaction. So this is where kind of it just gets a little bit tricky because price is a little bit in no man's land in that, high probability longs are going to be when we've actually mitigated this demand level here, right? When we come into following this series of mitigations, right? Tap into that demand, tap into that demand. Ideally, we want to see price come into this refined pivot candle demand. That's when you're much more likely to see that move, more impulsive move and higher probability longs if this move is to continue, right? Likewise for shorts, best time to get in short is when price is actually rejecting the supply zone and not after we've already pulled back into this demand range, right? So longs aren't amazing here because we haven't mitigated, refined demand. Shorts aren't great because we've already pulled back and we're starting to show bullish pressure coming in after mitigating this demand range. So this is where you can also see price choppy, bit rangy, sweep in and out and get people trapped. And this is where I like to practice patience as ever, wait for price to come to us down here or look for shorts from up here and wait for something to be a lot clearer. Because if we take a look at the 4-hour chart, sort of the same analysis in terms of market structure, so I need to go into in depth. But in terms of where that swing high low is likely to form, this is that daily demand zone down here. So this would be a decent level in which we could look for price to pull back into. But of course, we know it doesn't have to do that. If we follow the demand zones right, we had a tap into this one back here, just tap the edge of it, and then we had another mitigation here, right? And then we had another mitigation here. So this larger inside bar candle here, which I've just refined to the wick, okay, of that candle. So this was the larger zone there. So obviously this is a level, right, where we could see that continued movement. We did come in the other day on Tuesday, I believe, and we did have a failed reaction, which gave us a flip here. But as I was saying, a flip does not mean that this demand zone won't hold because there can still be orders left from within here, especially when it's a big zone. And that's exactly what happened. We came in, filled up the remaining orders within that wick, and then had a pretty strong impulsive move to the upside, giving us that bullish change of character that was actually just down here because we had the fractal move there. So yeah, and obviously clearing these highs out and clearing the supply out was a pretty strong signal as well. So that looks pretty decent sign that, we've kind of had that bullish, let's say, eyeballs there, looking for price to come back into demand, and then hopefully we can then look for longs from within here to target that weak high. That to me would still be pretty high probability. And that's essentially what I was hoping to see this session or shortly. Whilst accepting the fact that potentially this could be a fake move, potentially we're generating those relatively equal lows for price to come down into here before we see that movement there. But ideally, really wanted to wait for price to come into here to see if we can get that move there to the upside. So if we take a look at the M15, just go to some of these annotations, pace forward towards Frankfurt Open through Asia. Cool. So what do we have on M15? Well, we switched bullish yesterday, which was that move I was just talking about on the 4-hour chart, right? So we cleared out that supply, nice big move to the upside. So we essentially came into that 4-hour low, the extreme of that 4-hour wick demand. Again, just quickly show you here. All right, we're essentially just playing the continuation of this piece of structure. Okay, so we've come up, we've come down, we've come up, we've come down into the extreme of that demand, and then we've shifted structures upside, and this is where the M15 switched bullish. So now what I'm hoping to see is that M15 swing pull back into this level before potentially continuing that movement, which we can now see here. So ideally, like I kept saying, this grey box is that 4-hour demand zone. Ideally, I want to see price come into here to try and look for the highest probable continuation if we are going to continue. We have a nice refined M15 zone within there, POI, which flips this level of supply here. All right, so you can see price came into that supply, reacted and pushed up. So this becomes our flip. You can, of course, draw that to the whole range if you wish as well. That's totally fine. It did sweep liquidity, right? We can see we had that fractal low. The pricing came, grabbed the liquidity below that low, and then moved to the upside. And it's also following on a series of mitigations, right? Tap, and continue. So this is essentially your demand chain. So, and it's in a discount, and it has inducement, right? So it has pretty much everything you would want to see, which looks like a very, very, very decent level to look for longs. However, during Asia or from yesterday, what happened? Well, we had a sharp pullback after the swing boss, right? So we're now expecting that swing pullback. Kind of when you get this vertical move to the downside, we come into demand, right? And then we continue to the upside. We haven't really broken any significant structure because that's kind of just one straight pullback. And then we've come up and we've tried to break the high, but we failed to do so. We kind of just drifted back into this level. So this is where it gets a bit tricky because I personally review that as the start of the internal pullback, right? Or the internal push down. And then this is like the internal pullback. And then if price starts coming back down, right, this is your weak internal low that you want to target because this low has failed to take out the high, right? So this is your internal high. This is your internal low. This is basically just part of a complex pullback. And if the price starts coming back down, well, now you've got weak lows to target because this low has not broken anything significant. And that's kind of how I view it from the internal structure perspective. Literally push down. This is just a complex pullback and then looking for that continued movement down into here. The reason why it's not super clear cut is because we did obviously break fractal structure to the upside, right? We did have a bullish change of character. Price then did come up into that demand and we started to move up. So, there is potential that this is just going to do this and continue to the upside for sure. But to me, when I see that, I'm just a bit skeptical of it. There's perfect equal lows left there. We didn't mitigate that 4-hour demand. Overall, the higher time frames aren't in the best position, like I explained on the daily chart. We're kind of a little bit in that no man's land. So really what I want to see is price come into here and then look for longs from down within here. And I was just not really that hesitant. Now, if let's say we came into here, started London, just talk through this a bit more slowly, and we come into this level here, which I'm a bit, like I said, I'm a bit worried about because I see it as a weak low. And then, we have the sweep liquidity, we have a nice bullish change of character, V-shape, session open, and then we come in here. Okay, maybe now I look for longs because at least I've got some decent risk to reward, right? And I can look for that move from there and at least move to break even or take my profits, right? In case, we end up having that overall move. But we're already up here when we come up to Frankfurt Open. So one, we're in the premium of the swing range, okay, which isn't the end of the world because we've already pulled back to discount, so we could be going. But then, I don't know, it seems obvious to me, I don't know if it's obvious to everyone else, just the way I see it. I then kind of see, right, we've got this range kind of now going on. And now we're at the top of that. I basically, it's just in no man's land. I don't really want to be forcing trades here. I don't want to be getting long. I don't want to be getting short because there's nothing to short against. So, perhaps I'll consider shorts from up here because this is a weak swing high. But like I said, if that's the internal structure, then at least, you've got some decent risk to reward if that's going to be the move that continues to take out that weak low. And then down here is where I want to look for longs. So really, that's kind of the two levels. Just set my alert here, set your alert there, and just stay out of trouble in the middle. That's why the discussion with someone in the questions channel in Discord during the session, in which we were talking about, I'll just show you a paper price forward a little bit because I know probably a few were looking at this. You got this POI here, right? And as it's formed, as we were talking about, I said, yeah, it's a low probability POI. I'm not interested in it because, again, I can see this. Maybe have a little bit less experience, this could look great, right? We've had the pullback to discount, we've had a bullish change of character, we've mitigated demand, we've got decent momentum, let's look for the continuation to take out the weak high. I totally get it, but hopefully the sort of more nuanced factors I've explained before that kind of explain why I'm not really that keen. It's just not a well-priced area of value. I'm a little bit skeptical about the higher time frames. I view this as overall weak low. It's left perfect equal lows there. I'd much prefer... I just want to have these doubts. I'd rather just leave it alone. I'm not bothered. I'll just let it play out. Then also we had these perfect equal highs here. Price then sweeps those. So now if price comes back down, you're trading against that sweep. Is that the worst confluence in the world? No, but it's not ideal. But when you combine it with everything else, it's just another tick in the box for why I don't like this, right? There's no inducement in the leg. It's just a straight push. It didn't sweep any liquidity. It didn't really pull back to mitigate anything. Arguably you've got this doji, right? This held to buy. But we didn't flip anything. If you look left, this zone has already played out. It's already played its move out. We already had a tap into it here. And again, we had another tap here, right? We've pushed down. So, I view this zone as pretty much already mitigated. So yeah, technically it has flipped the orders that I left from within here, but it's kind of more flipped the wick, of that zone. It's not the best. So when I see that, yeah, I'm not bothered. I'm happy to let that play out. If that's going to be the move that continues, then fine. But very often I find that this is just middle of no man's land where you just get chopped around a lot and it's not high probability. So the way I would have played this move is if we got that at the session open and we came into here, then I'd look for that movement there. I don't really want to be buying up here, just, yeah, like I keep saying, in the middle of no man's land. It doesn't scream high probability to me at all. So I wasn't even looking at the snail run, even if price moves away. Look, like, I'm not bothered because I just know it's not where I want to get involved. So I'm happy to let that go. And then, yeah, we ended up just dumping. I don't think it was the news, but yeah, ended up just sitting to the downside, and now we're sweeping the lows again. So we're just range bound, we're just choppy. So again, this is where let price come to me. I've got this flip range here. Ideally, price comes down to our refined level, but I'll be aware of both. And this will be a decent level to look for longs. But again, am I attached that this is where the higher low has to happen? No, of course not. We could easily switch bearish again on the M15. We could come down, we could break here, because price may want to come down to, remember, that daily demand zone. This is why I know it can seem pointless spending time on the daily chart and maybe even the weekly chart sometimes when we're trying to capture 20 pip moves on the M1 for the session, but it's important to know that because then it tells you why you don't want to be forcing trades up here, and knowing and understanding why this low may break and why we might come lower and then get that move, or maybe we'll even break this and have a deeper daily swing pullback, who knows. But at least I want to stack the probabilities in my favor and wait for price to tap into here if this is going to be the move to go, just me personally in this instance. So that's what I was waiting for. So I can totally understand why you may be looking at trades from within here, but hopefully I've tried to make it as clear as possible as to why I personally wasn't interested. As to me, it's just that's the sideways range, and that's not an area of value within this sort of range, or even a larger range in which I want to be buying. I don't want to be buying here. I want to be buying down here, or ideally down here. Staying out of sort of the middle of these ranges has definitely improved my results a lot, and I think it will probably help quite a few of you as well. Now, that could have played out on another day, and maybe I'd be looking like an idiot thinking I've overanalyzed things, but I've just found more often than not I don't like that. So that's why I have to say to myself, even when I see this POI forming, I literally say to myself out loud, okay, if that plays out, I'm not interested. And that way you don't get FOMO. You've already accepted that this is not where you're interested in, right? Hope you guys took some value from that. See you next one. Cheers, guys.